It's Wednesday the 22nd of February 2017, and you are listening to the Paul Clark Podcast. So I always knew this day would come. The day when Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party will be held accountable. Held accountable not to the people, not by the people who unilaterally support Jeremy Corbyn and his vision for a socialist, communist Labour Party, but held accountable by the ordinary people, by the people of Stoke-on-Trent, by the people of Copeland. For tomorrow, that is exactly what will happen. Jeremy Corbyn cannot hide any longer behind the members of the Labour Party, the people that signed up for membership of the Labour Party under his reign, that paid their £2 or £3 and joined up to support Jeremy Corbyn and his communist socialist movement. He cannot hide behind them anymore. It is the ordinary men and women of Stoke-on-Trent and Copeland that will get to decide the fate, the future of not only Jeremy Corbyn, but the future and the current direction of the Labour Party. To lose just one of these, Copeland and Stoke-on-Trent, would be humiliating. But to lose both would surely be the end of Jeremy Corbyn and his movement. Because what is it they say about Stoke-on-Trent? That you could put a chimpanzee or a monkey or a gorilla in Stoke, and as long as they were Labour, they would win. As long as they were Labour, people would vote for them. People would vote for it. It's Labour heartland. I mean, this tells you everything you need to know. The fact that there's even a question mark, a sliver of doubt as to whether Jeremy Corbyn and Labour can hold on to Stoke-on-Trent should really tell you everything you need to know about the current state of that party, the current state of the Labour Party, and how disconnected Jeremy Corbyn and his movement is from working class towns, places like Stoke-on-Trent, places like Copeland. Now in Copeland, it's a part of the country that is very pro-military, that is effectively at the heart of our nuclear missile defence programme, and because of that has generated many jobs in that sector. And of course, Jeremy Corbyn, as we know, is a pacifist, is anti-Trident, doesn't believe in Trident, doesn't believe in the renewal of Trident, doesn't believe in the right for us to defend our borders and our country from those that mean us harm. In the world of Jeremy Corbyn, we would basically all die and be murdered in our beds because he doesn't believe in Trident and nuclear defence. So I don't think he's got a chance. I don't think Labour have a hope in hell of retaining Copeland. I think the Tories, the Conservative Party and Theresa May will take that off Labour easily. Stoke, however, I don't know. I have a friend who lives in Stoke, and he tells me that the feeling, that the vibe, that the general word on the street is that it's going to go UKIP. It's going to go UKIP, and Paul Nuttall and the UK Independence Party are going to swoop in and take Stoke off the Labour Party. I am not as confident as him. I do not know. Mostly because there's been some controversy this week with UKIP and Paul Nuttall regarding Hillsborough. Paul Nuttall turned around and said that he was actually at Hillsborough and he knew people that were at Hillsborough. And to bring up the whole Hillsborough incident is, particularly in that neck of the woods in the north, is very toxic and very foolish. I think it's been proven. I think a lot of journalists, a lot of people particularly the Corbynistas, did their research and came to the concluded that in no way, shape or form was Paul Nuttall attending Hillsborough. He was not there for the Hillsborough massacre. So that hasn't played well, I think, with the people of Stoke, the people of the North. Whether it's enough, whether that plays to Labour's strengths, whether it's enough for them to retain Stoke, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. In less than 24 hours, we will know. But if Labour loses Stoke, I do not see a future for him as leader. And surely then he will have to consider his future as leader of the Labour Party. Because I don't think that that Labour have the stomach for another leadership contest. They've already had two. And to be fair to Jamie, he won both. He won both challenges to his leadership. The second time, he was voted in with a bigger mandate, a bigger majority than he was elected with the first time around. So to give the guy his credit for that, I mean, you've got to respect him because he played the game. He took the challenge on, and he won. But then again, the opposition wasn't exactly strong. It was Owen Smith was the one that was challenging Jeremy Corbyn and his leadership. And I mean, to be honest with you, out of those two, Owen Smith almost makes me want to vote for Jeremy Corbyn, because at least Jeremy Corbyn, for all his faults, accepts the decision of the British public to Brexit and leave the European Union. Owen Smith wanted another referendum. And it's like, well, what we're going to keep on having referendums? Because what happens then, Owen, if say you became leader of the Labour Party, say you had won, you'd usurped Jeremy, you become leader of the Labour Party, then you win the next general election and you have a referendum, and what happens then if the people who voted to leave in 2016 vote again in, say, 2020 to leave again? What are you going to do? You're just going to keep having referendums on Europe until you get the vote that you want? I mean, as I say, he almost makes Jeremy Corbyn look competent, which takes some doing for me. Because I don't believe Jeremy is a leader. I don't believe he's a Prime Minister in waiting. Jeremy Corbyn is no more a leader than I am a brain surgeon or an astrophysicist. I think he's a nice man who's probably got good intentions. I will say that about the guy. But as I say, I just don't think he's a born leader. Now, Tony Blair, there was a leader. There was a leader. And I personally think the single greatest Prime Minister that this country ever had. He was not perfect, okay? Looking back, he made a lot of mistakes. But he was he had a strong presence. He had the ability to lead a party. He had the determination. He had the stamina. And the ability to lead a party. And he must have done something right, because not once, not twice, but 3 times people re-elected him and the Labour Party. And I always knew, I remember saying to people at the time, when Blair stepped down, when he said that he wouldn't fight the next election, and then the likes of Gordon Brown and members of the Labour Party stabbed him in the back and in the side and in the front and just hung him out to dry. I remember saying to people, you watch, this is the single biggest mistake that the Labour Party's ever made, getting rid of that man. Now, I know that Blair did say he wouldn't fight the next general election at that point, which was, he stepped aside in 2007, and the next election was, as it turned out, 2010. So he could have stepped down at any time between 2007 and 2010. I generally thought he would probably step aside in, say, early 2009, late 2008. But nope, Gordon Brown wanted him out straight away, as soon as possible. So they threw Blair to the wolves. And I believe Labour has paid the price for that ever since. Gordon Brown, disaster. Ed Miliband, just a joke. And Jeremy Corbyn, as I say, the fact that it's even a question, even in doubt, as to whether he and Labour can retain Stoke-on-Trent. Stoke-on-Trent, this should be a shoo-ing. I repeat, you could put a gorilla, a chimpanzee in Stoke, and as long as it's Labour, the people would vote for it. It really depresses me in some ways to sort of see what Labour has become under the reign of Jeremy Corbyn. To see it go from a party of the people to this socialist, communist, sixth form university, liberal, libtard, lefty protest party. A party that can't even hold the government to account because they're too busy fighting amongst themselves. And I believe that tomorrow is the last chance to pull things back and to put the brakes on Labour and stop them from falling off the edge of the cliff and going into an abyss. This is the last chance, because if Jeremy loses at least one of these, surely he has to consider his future as leader of the Labour Party. Now, we know he's very resilient. As I say, he had 2 challenges to his leadership, and he won them both. And of course, in the days following the referendum, when the whole of British politics was falling apart at the seams, when the Prime Minister himself, David Cameron, was forced to step aside and resign, and the whole face of the Tory party changed, and Labour MPs were dropping like flies, Jeremy Corbyn, he stood firm. He dug his feet in, he dug his heels in, and he clung on for dear life. I personally think a lot of that, I think he wanted to leave. I think a lot of it with him was the likes of Diane Abbott, just a vile woman, the likes of John MacDonald, that were basically encouraging him, begging him not to leave. But not even they will be able to protect him tomorrow. For if he loses Stoke-on-Trent, that surely has to be the end for Jeremy Corbyn.